There's been a lot of buzz about this idea of thought leadership lately, but how does it help your cause when you're starting a nonprofit? In this Changemaker Cafe episode, I'm going to talk through what thought leadership really means, some of the benefits of being a thought leader for nonprofit leaders and founders, and the 3 steps you need to take to get started establishing yourself as a thought leader. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content on nonprofits, fundraising, and more. All right, let's get into it. Let's start by getting clear about one thing. What exactly is thought leadership? I think most people think thought leadership is just about being the loudest voice in the room about a particular issue or topic. And technically, the official definition of thought leader, according to Western Governors University, is the expression of ideas that demonstrate you have expertise in a particular field, area, or topic. But in my experience, it's actually more than that. There's lots of people who have experience in various topics. True thought leadership is about not only having a lot of expertise, but also about being consistent, trusted, and having a unique point of view that makes you memorable. For example, it's not enough to be a knowledgeable person on the issue of homelessness and housing in your city to be a thought leader. You also have to share unique insights and shine a light on aspects of the problem that people might not consider. Strong thought leaders are able to not just educate people on an issue, but also influence them to behave and believe and act differently, which is why being a thought leader as a nonprofit founder or leader can really help you give your cause a boost. Now, I do want to be transparent that becoming a thought leader doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to be seen and to build that credibility and trust, but it is so worth it. If you can work on getting started just before you launch a nonprofit or as you're growing one, the effort you put in can have an incredible return on investment for your nonprofit's mission. Generally speaking, thought leaders are going to enjoy more visibility, larger audiences, and more influence over people, regardless of industry. So when you're starting a nonprofit or growing a nonprofit organization as a nonprofit founder or leader, this can mean that being considered a thought leader could also lead to things like faster audience growth, brand recognition for your organization, higher levels of credibility and trust, which is a prerequisite to getting something else a lot of smaller or startup nonprofits need: more donations and volunteers. So if you're willing to put in the time to build yourself up as a credible thought leader, what's involved? Let's talk about 3 steps to getting started. The first step is to define your area of expertise. Defining your area of expertise is all about figuring out what you want people to associate with you and know you for. For example, when I create these videos here on YouTube, my goal is to be known for providing education and training on social impact topics in a digestible and accessible way. And if you aren't already sure what you want to be known for specifically related to your cause, here are some questions that can help you sort of reflect on that. The community challenges that you tackle and how your nonprofit uniquely addresses them is one. You want to avoid just saying, I want to be known for being an expert in food insecurity or animal welfare or insert social issue here. Take it a step further by adding a twist. What makes your approach unique? Maybe your approach is unique because of the values you operate by, your specific strategy, or your philosophy. Mark Horvath, founder of Invisible People, is a great example of this. He tackles homelessness in an unconventional way by respectfully sharing the real-life stories of people living on the streets, showing their complexity and humanity, and not shying away from talking about the hard stuff. And this is what Mark has become known for. Check him out, by the way. He's super cool. What are some trends or shifts that you've noticed in your issue area? What's changing? What's being overlooked? Being a thought leader means staying on top of these shifts and making sure the community knows about them. Or maybe, where do you disagree with the status quo? Thought leadership is sometimes about saying what others won't. This tension is where leadership often begins. So what are some contrary opinions you have to the mainstream in your issue area, and how do those insights help your organization further its mission? Sticking with the topic of homelessness as an example, it's interesting to think of how thought leadership emerged over a decade ago in a seemingly contrary idea of what's called housing first. It's basically a philosophy in the homelessness agency community that if you prioritize housing people experiencing homelessness before worrying about finding them a job or combating food insecurity, that you're going to be more successful. It sounds like it runs contrary to popular opinion, but they found in the research that offering people the security of a roof over their head actually makes it easier for them to find a job and get sustainable income and then deal with other issues or addictions. So, here are a few tips for this. Tip number one is to position yourself within a niche inside your cause area. For example, don't just be a homelessness advocate, be the go to expert on transitional housing for youth in urban areas. Specificity breeds credibility. Tip number two is to audit your past emails, meeting notes, or presentations and look at what topics do people come to you for advice about the most often. That's usually where your expertise is going to shine. And tip number three is to write down 3 truths about your cause that you wish more people understood. Those are key ideas that can become your first blog posts or your next keynote talk or social media posts. For step number two, you're going to share what you know and expand your reach. So once you've defined what you're about and your messaging, it's time to start sharing your thoughts publicly on social media and speaking engagements and in your community. Thought leaders earn trust by showing up consistently with valuable content, insights, and opinions. So you want to start with formats that you're comfortable with, like talking to groups or social posts or short videos or newsletters or LinkedIn articles, etc. Here are a few tips for that. Now, tip number one is once you've identified a few key ideas you want to share, create a content ecosystem by repackaging and reusing content across multiple platforms. For example, you could turn a presentation or a webinar that you do on a topic into short clips for Instagram or a transcript for a blog post or a pitch for a guest article. This helps you maximize your content. Try posting something at least once a week, but a couple times a week if possible. Tip number two is to invite people to give you feedback, ask questions, and engage with your content. Then use audience data and feedback to inform your topics. You can track when your blog posts get the most engagement or your social posts. Thought leadership isn't about just what you want to say. It's about saying what your audience needs to hear and going where they're trying to have conversations with you. Tip number three here is to expand your reach and credibility by collaborating with others who are already influential in your issue area. See if you can co-host a workshop or go live on Instagram together or other ways to shout each other out. I'm excited to share our third step to getting started in thought leadership because I think that it's going to be where you really solidify the public's trust and your reputation. But before we get into that, I just want to take a moment to thank the sponsor of this video, Click and Pledge. So as you're building your organization's audience and support, you need a fundraising platform that can really help you manage those donations and scale. With Click and Pledge, you'll get a robust dashboard where you can plan fundraising campaigns and monitor your progress. You'll get highly customizable donation forms, donation collection tools for those in-person fundraising events, so important. Text to give features, peer-to-peer fundraising features that allow you to raise money through your supporters networks. Video fundraising with donation links embedded directly in the videos. Donor outreach tools to improve donor retention, a complete Salesforce integration, many other integrations, and more. Here's the thing, some platforms charge more based on your organization's size. I know from experience, but Click and Pledge doesn't do that. The pricing stays the same even as your donor list size increases. And nonprofits really appreciate how there are no contracts and all the solutions are included at no extra cost. You can learn more about Click and Pledge's fundraising solutions and get your first $25 monthly fee waived using the links below the video. Feel free to get in contact with their team or ask questions or schedule a demo, or you can even sign up to give it a try right now and come back and let me know what you think. All right, our third and final step to getting started with thought leadership is all about being part of the conversation. A thought leader doesn't just amplify their own thoughts, they're generous and a good listener too. To be really trustworthy, truly influential, and not just seen as promotional, you have to participate in two-way conversations, not just broadcast your own ideas all the time. So let's talk about what that actually looks like in practice. It means things like joining Facebook groups, LinkedIn threads, or sector specific Slack channels where people talking about your issue area hang out. Don't just drop links or your own ideas all the time. Be sure to engage authentically by asking questions, offering insights, and making genuine connections. Here are a few tips. The first tip is to follow the 60-30-10 rule for social media marketing. So basically, that's 60% of your posts should be helpful or educational, 30% should engage directly with others, like comments or shares, and 10%, just 10%, can be promotional. Tip number 2 is to use voice and video messages when reaching out or responding to people. It's something that stands out and builds faster trust and human connection. And tip number 3 is to grow intentionally and make a plan to stay on top of it. Set goals like comment on 3 to 5 posts per week, or send a couple DMs, or ask a thoughtful question to your audience. All right, are you working on becoming a thought leader for your cause? I'd love to hear what you're aiming to be known for, so share those thoughts in the comments below this video. Don't forget, you can always get more content in my weekly newsletter and resources on my website, changemakercafe.com, and be sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss our next episode. I'll see you later. Bye.